L.com.
You can't handle the truth.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
You have offended my family.
Hey, this is great, man.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
I know nothing.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
We don't need no stinking budget.
Homosexuality, no. Immorality, general.
Now in the century you have slurred the meaning of the words we, the people.
Be warned, this is not your mother's marijuana.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant. Welcome back, everyone. 46 after the hour. And today, my hat's off to our own Herb Thrasher, who on his Facebook page posted the response of our Portland Mayor, Charlie Hales, to the passage of Measure 91. Let me read you Mayor Charlie Hales' response. This is Mayor Charlie Hales' statement. Tax on recreational use. Email address for questions. On Tuesday, Oregon voters approved the use of recreational marijuana, which means Oregon will allow the legal use of recreational marijuana beginning July 1st, 2015. The city had been working since the summer to craft policies that reflect that change. Mayor Hales explains, quote, "It seemed prudent to get started on this issue long before voters spoke. The goal is to make sure city policy reflects the changing legal and social climate and to craft policy that is not unduly burdensome." End quote. In October, City Council passed a 10% tax on recreational marijuana to defray the cost of enforcing regulations. The city will not tax medicinal marijuana. The state, through the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, will regulate use, and the city will work over the next several months with the state to smooth implementations. Have questions? Contact marijuana.questions@portlandoregon.gov. Well, here's the problem. If you want to craft policy that's not unduly burdensome, perhaps you ought to take a look at Measure 91 and where it vests the taxation power over marijuana with the states and not the cities. Now, this led to an extended conversation on Herb Thrasher's Facebook page. I'll post the link in our chat room if you'd like to get in on it. But clearly, Measure 91 does not allow cities and counties to tax marijuana. 49 of these cities and counties passed these preemptive tax laws with the theory that they'd get grandfathered in, and then Measure 91 would only invalidate the taxes after that point. So Scott Herb in our in the post says maybe our good Mayor Charlie Hales will respond too. Sir, are we to understand that 91 stating the state will issue tax, or your above statement that the city tax is true? Charlie Hales was represented by his public information officer, Sarah, who said, quote, "Portland is among nearly 20 Oregon cities, it's actually 49, that have enacted similar taxes ahead of Measure 91's vote. While the ballot language forbids cities from enacting taxes on marijuana," let me pause there. That's the mayor's office recognizing that Measure 91 forbids cities from enacting taxes on marijuana. Let's underline that now. She continues, "It's unclear whether that prohibition applies to ordinances passed ahead of the measure's approval. A conversation on the question will happen with the Oregon legislature and potentially the courts. By enacting a tax, Portland took a position and aligned with other cities on the issue of resources for smooth implementation." So I responded in the thread, Section 42, quote, "No county or city of this state shall impose any fee or tax, including occupation taxes, privilege taxes, and inspection fees, in connection with the purchase, sale, production, processing, transportation, and delivery of marijuana items," end quote. And Section 58, quote, "shall be paramount and superior to, and shall fully replace and supersede any and all municipal charter enactments or local ordinances inconsistent with it. Such charters and ordinances hereby are repealed," end quote. So Mayor Hales Portland and these other cities' position that taxes passed prior to Measure 91's passage would somehow be grandfathered in is in clear conflict with the language, quote, shall fully replace and supersede, end quote. And there's no doubt that an initiative of the people can repeal an existing law. 1916's Measure 7 was a bill repealing and abolishing the Sunday closing law. 1924's Measure 7 was a bill repealing income tax in Oregon. Clearly, the people can repeal an existing tax if in 1924 they repealed all income taxes. 1932, Measure 7, repeal of alcohol prohibition. 1 year before the federal government did it. So it's clear that the people can set the policies regarding drugs in this state. And 1954's Measure 8 was a repeal of the milk control law. So this idea that the initiative power does not grant the people to repeal laws is bunk. As I see it, all Portland and these cities have done is punch their tickets to see who's going to be the first to waste valuable taxpayer time and money defending the inevitable lawsuit over these clearly illegal taxes and the appeals of the inevitable decision when the courts read the clear language of sections 42 and 58 that were approved by 56% of the state of Oregon. Now, I'm just wondering which city or county that's going to be. Will it be Salem, where Marion County only supported Measure 91 at 48%? Will it be Lake Oswego in Clackamas County, where the vote was 51.6%? Will it be Beaverton in Washington County, where the vote was 55%? Will it be Ashland in Jackson County, where the vote was 53.2%? Will it be Eugene in Lane County, where the vote was 60.2%? Or will it be you, Charlie Hales, in the largest city in the state, in Multnomah County, that voted for Measure 91 at 71.2%? Well, if it were me defending Measure 91 in court, I'd pick on you, Charlie Hales, in Portland, because a 71.2% vote is a full 10 points better than you did in your election for mayor. 71.2% of the people in this county voted in favor of, quote, shall fully replace and supersede, end quote, the tax in Portland. Oh, well, maybe we could sue in Ashland, though. We could tie all that up in a mess in court just ahead of the Shakespeare Festival season, where tourists are going to be really excited about the idea of watching Romeo and Juliet and smoking a little legal Oregon weed. Or maybe we should take it up in Eugene, a college town. Let's have the court fight in a college town over making marijuana more expensive. Oh, I know. We could take on Forest Grove, one of these little towns that doesn't have a whole lot of money to be able to fight back. There's so many alluring targets for marijuana lawyers flush with green rush capital to take on. I really don't care which one that we take on. And actually, the mayor's office even responded to that position of mine. This is from the public information officer. Quote, Mayor Hales isn't operating in a vacuum. Portland is standing with approximately 18 other cities that have passed similar ordinances, and government relations teams statewide are working together and negotiating with the legislature to come to a consensus about how tax revenue will work. It's a regular part of the process of any new law that garners revenue. Not if that new law that garners revenue specifically says in it the only entity that can garner revenue is the state. And please, it's unclear whether that prohibition applies to ordinances passed ahead of the measure's approval. Really? It's unclear? Quote, shall fully replace and supersede, end quote, is unclear to you? Stop peeing on our leg and telling us it's raining. You want the city to make extra money taxing marijuana because it's the one tax you think you can get away with, period. And in response to that, the mayor's office replied, quote, cigarettes are taxed, alcohol is taxed. In the same vein, marijuana will be taxed. Municipalities are negotiating with the Oregon legislature how revenue will be collected and distributed. The legislature can choose to keep or change the language in the measure. As noted before, it's a regular part of the process for any new law that collects revenue. Oh, so a regular part of the process is the city, the county, and the state colluding to find some technicality, some loophole, some friendly judge to undo the will of the people? That's a regular part of the process? The language of Measure 91 that was approved by 56% of the voters could not be more clear. Shall fully replace and supersede. Fully replace. We're not idiots here. We know what we were voting for. We were voting that the state shall tax and regulate marijuana, not every little fiefdom across Oregon that hates marijuana and wants to get rid of it. Here's a story from the Oregonian. I was just reading this one today, where the city of Fairview is proposing a 40% tax on the sale of cannabis and related products. 40% tax on recreational, 15% tax on medical marijuana. And in this, here's a quote. Mayor Mike Weatherby and some city council members toyed with setting the rate at 100% as a stronger deterrent to marijuana retailers opening in Fairview. Quote, "It's just something we don't need," said Mayor Weatherby. And city council member Tammy Arnold, who by the way lost her re-election bid, said, quote, "It is fair to say the whole purpose was to try to find ways to keep it out of Fairview," end quote. I've got a list here in that link that I just posted in the chat room is a list of the 49 municipalities in Oregon that preemptively tried to pass taxes on marijuana with rates ranging from 5% to that 40%, with medical rates ranging from 3% to 5%. And this undoes the entire point of marijuana legalization, which was to take it out of the hands of criminals and to undercut a black market. Have you not learned any lessons from Washington State, where there are literally pot dealers sitting in the parking lots of their tax and regulate stores? Because it's so easy to undercut the 25% plus 25% plus 25% plus local sales tax plus state sales tax that has inflated the price of marijuana to $35 a gram. Far higher than the black market rate here in the Pacific Northwest. And this line of hers, in October, the city council passed a 10% tax on recreational marijuana to defray the cost of enforcing regulations, end quote. Oh, really? It costs money to enforce regulations on drugs? So what's Portland's city tax on alcohol to defray the cost of enforcing those regulations? Where is the cost that is being defrayed by a Portland beer tax for the street closings and the patrolling of fights, date rape, public urination, and drunken driving that's going to occur in Old Town tonight and every weekend in Portland, Oregon? There is no public consumption of marijuana allowed under Measure 91, and there are 6 monthly adult drinkers for every 1 monthly adult toker in Oregon, so it can't possibly be the same regulatory enforcement drain on Oregon's budget or Portland's budget. You really, really want us to believe you need a 10% tax to handle us pot smokers in our homes while there's no tax to handle the booze drinkers downtown? We've already got a tax on hotels and bed and breakfast that are sure to do even more business in Portland with marijuana legalized. See, for example, Denver getting a 6% raise in their tourism revenue since legalization occurred. We're all paying an arts tax here in Portland. And in this last election, we approved the bonds for schools and parks. What you're doing now is trying to fleece the people who voted against being marijuana criminals anymore, the people who voted against being locally taxed on marijuana, people who willingly voted to be taxed at the state level. You're just upset that you're going to lose the marijuana ticket money and the asset forfeitures and the police overtime come July 1st, 2015, and you want to keep the marijuana money flowing into the pockets from the same people you previously treated as criminals and currently treat as second-class citizens ineligible for certain employment thanks to piss testing that doesn't discriminate against alcoholics and pill poppers. We will be fighting this 10% tax and all of these city taxes in court, and you can believe the marijuana movement now has the money and the muscle to flex in court right now and to flex at the legislature and to reject these over-harsh, over-broad, over-expensive, punitive taxes against marijuana users that are not implemented against beer drinkers. Mayor Hales, you picked the wrong fight. You better ask Dwight Holton, you better ask Josh Markey, you better ask Kevin Sabet what it's like to have my undivided attention. That's all the time we got. Stay tuned for Hour 2. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it,